welcome back to the Local 636 podcast. We are recording live at Missouri Wild Alchemy. I'm here with Jason Crady, one of the owners, and we got a fun little day in store, don't we?
Oh, yeah.
I'm excited about this conversation, man, just to get to know more about the business and how it works and you, and pretty neat.
Definitely. We're excited to have you.
A little bit about you. You've been a first responder for like 17 years.
Yep.
Paramedic first.
Yes.
Firefighter now for 15.
Yep.
We thank you for your service, obviously.
Oh, man. I appreciate it. Thank you. I love doing it.
St. Charles raised, St. Charles born, raised, proud, still live here.
Yeah.
Just St. Charles to the bone.
That's right.
Love it, man.
Yep.
So we are at Missouri Wild Alchemy. We are on Lake. What's the name of it? This is on West Terra.
It's on West Terra Lane.
Terra, yeah.
It's right at Highway 70 and Lake St. Louis Boulevard.
Okay, I don't know my way around Lake St. Louis, so it's off Lake St. Louis Boulevard.
Right.
That's fair to say. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of people know El Mazone and Mouty's, which are two restaurant bars right in the same strip that we're in, so people might know.
Probably a good location for a marijuana business to be right next to a couple places like that.
Definitely.
Well, man, tell me about why you started this business and what you've been up to.
So, number one, back in the day in high school, college, and all that, before my professional career as a firefighter, I used to really enjoy cannabis with my buddies and my brother and my cousin, and just had a lot of really good experience and a fun time with it, where a lot of my buddies that were drinking a lot of alcohol would end up in fights and always just kind of seemed to have negative implications and stuff like that.
That's me. Yeah.
So we we enjoyed going the opposite route and just had a really good time. And then I became a firefighter, and I was doing a lot of stuff for the firefighters. And when they first started talking about medical cannabis and coming to Missouri, a lot of people were working based on military and PTSD. Well, having worked in fire and EMS for the last 17 plus years, I've had a lot of friends, really close friends, that have had issues with a lot of the things that we've seen over the years, and they've turned to alcohol and opiates. And it really made me kind of start thinking that, it would be nice for first responders to be able to potentially use cannabis on their days off to help relax or, help alleviate some of the symptoms from some of the things that we've seen, to get good rest and recovery after long shifts and stuff like that.
Well, you mentioned enjoying it in your younger years, but the reality is there's a lot of other uses, a lot of practical uses other than just it being fun,
right?
That treat, I'm sure, like you said, a lot of what you've seen, but currently it is not okay.
Correct.
To use it as a firefighter.
Correct.
And that's everywhere in Missouri, or?
No, there's some places that probably, allow it, and, just as long as people aren't consuming when they're coming onto duty, that would potentially be okay. But what we've seen is there's no policies that reflect or protect a firefighter, paramedic, or, EMS or law enforcement that would happen to have a medical card and use cannabis. Basically they probably still are violating their policy. And that was one of the things that we were big on at the beginning, was educating our consumers and patients that even though it was medical cannabis and you had a certification from your physician that you qualified for medical cannabis, that does not supersede your employment policies and procedures. So we were very diligent about being upfront with people and letting them know that just because it's legal here doesn't mean that it's okay with your employer. So that's one of the things that we've really been working toward, and we're still working on that.
Yeah, and you were telling me before off camera that you've spent some time in Jeff City trying to actually make that happen and change how the laws read and everything.
Yeah, definitely. We've made a lot of really good progress with some of the legislators. Actually, he's a state senator now, Nick Schroer, very good friend of cannabis, and he's our state senator here. He's been very supportive the entire way, and he believes that people should be allowed to consume cannabis if they so choose on, their time away from their, job. And, we've had a lot of very good conversations with just certain state reps up in Jefferson City. State Rep Paula Brown is a state rep from where I work, and she's, very good with listening to us and kind of talking about all the things that firefighters and, paramedics and police officers deal with on a day-to-day basis. And we're really developing that conversation. And, when we're talking about politics, the city of O'Fallon, which is technically where we're located, has been extremely awesome to deal with when it comes
I
to
didn't know what you were going to say there.
Cannabis business. No,
Yeah.
they've been 100% supportive from the very beginning prior to us even opening. And if we want to circle back, a little bit from when we decided to get in, my wife and I were actually out at my in-laws on, I think it was 4th of July or something in the summertime, a few years before medical cannabis came to Missouri. And, I'd have had a beverage or two and kind of looked at my father-in-law. I think we were all swimming in the pool out at their house, and was like, hey, man, we should get into the cannabis business just to kind of see what he would say. And he was like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like,
Wait, what?
Wait, what? For real? And then my wife was like, dude, what are you doing? Because she's definitely more conservative than me. She's more reserved, and it was obviously extremely risky. Scott, my father-in-law, is our other, business owner and our partner, and he was 100% on board from the beginning, and we all took a huge risk, and he took a very, very huge risk, and that's kind of the history of it.
Yeah, one thing that's super interesting is I think a lot of people, I'm not sure what people think or what the perception is, but I think there is a section of the population here that thinks, oh, there's these guys just rented out this building and opened up a weed shop, and now they're selling weed. And that couldn't be further from the truth, as regarding what you were telling me earlier about the application process. And talk a little bit about that. I know this. So this was what, 4 or 5 years ago, I guess.
Yeah, we've actually been open for 3 years.
Okay.
We had the facility for a year prior to opening, which was one of the state's requirements for our application. And then prior to that, we had started assembling our team for our application before that. So we are about 4 years in at this point, and the application process was very extensive. The state is very focused on compliance and regulation, and we're actually, governed under the Department of Health and Senior Services through the state of Missouri.
Oh, wow.
Extremely compliant. There was a lot of, banking issues. There's security issues. There's issues just with, municipalities and making sure you're in the proper zone and you're a certain distance away from what they would consider, areas that they didn't want you to be within 1,000 feet of a school, daycare, things like that.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of groundwork that went into even beginning to start the application. I think, I probably spent 6 months just driving around St. Charles County, which is where we decided from the beginning we wanted to be located. We were born and raised, I was basically born and raised here. My parents and my in-laws came from North St. Louis County, and so we'd all migrated a little bit further west and, have raised families out here, and, we decided that that's where we wanted to try to operate this cannabis business. And, I probably got hung up on by 50 landlords when I said, hey, we're interested in putting a dispensary in your place. Oh, yeah. So,
Now they're probably kicking themselves.
Some of them, yeah, for sure.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. We're here with Jason Crady at Missouri Wild Alchemy. I want you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I always forget what side it's on, so I'm just going to do this. Hit that subscribe button so you get the latest podcasts and shorts and clips from YouTube. You also want to hit that alarm bell because that notifies you. Thank you, Angel. The alarm bell notifies you when new content's coming out. So as we grow this and do this more, we're going to have new stuff coming out, shorts, clips, funny stuff. So you're going to want to stay tuned. We've got a couple things coming up that we want to talk about the event, but I want to talk more about that application process because you say application process. I think everyone watching has filled out an application at some point. This is not your standard application though, right?
Absolutely
This is
not.
a beast.
A beast.
And you actually had to hire a consultant to help you fill it out.
We did, and we hired security consultants to make sure that was one of our very top priorities. And to circle back about the team, Scott is an engineer, and he has a lot of dealings with municipalities over the years, and so he knows how to speak their language.
It's always good.
Absolutely, and that was very helpful. My wife's a pharmacist, so very used to compliance and regulations when it comes to pharmacy-type activities. I've worked in a pharmacy before in management when I decided what I wanted, before I wanted to, knew what I wanted to do when I grow up and became a firefighter. I worked for Walgreens in management and while I was in college. So, we have a lot of experience in that. And what we heard from the state was they kind of wanted these to be run like a pharmacy. So that was another thing that kind of piqued our interest to go, hey, we know
okay.
a little bit about that. So we thought
it makes sense with the process, and I mean, it does have a very, even coming in here as just a guest, we had to get registered. I mean, we couldn't just walk in here and start setting up. I mean, you have to be with someone. You have to check in. You have to show your ID.
Yep.
This is not just like a walk up and buy weed from a counter and take off.
Right.
I mean, this is a legit. It's almost feels more like a doctor's office or a pharmacy. So that's interesting that they said that, because it definitely has that vibe. Not of like a pharmacy, obviously. Yeah. As you guys can see, this is a very cool,
super cool pharmacy.
A super cool pharmacy, yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, so long application process, but also just not knowing, right? I think you said 90% of the applicants got turned away.
Yeah, a little over 90% of people that applied got turned away. And, you know, there was a $6,000 non-refundable fee per application. And that didn't even count if you hired a consultant to help write the app, if you had, you know, acquired people who had cannabis experience in another state, if you had got security help, you know, any kind of additions to your application that might have made you stand out. That was all on top of those initial fees. And, you know, we were also forced to have our real estate prior to.
Yeah, you mentioned that, having it a year before. And that's just what basically to prove that you are solvent.
And to prove that you had a landlord or a facility that was within a proper zone and that was willing to allow a cannabis business to operate in their facility, which is why I told you probably like at least 50 people hung up on me when I first started that conversation. Hey, you know, my name's Jason Crady. I'm interested in opening a cannabis dispensary. Would you be willing to lease to us? Click, or absolutely not, or whatever. And then we started to get a few people wanting to, you know, talk about that a little bit more. And as we've grown and as we've been doing this for the last couple of years now, the attitude from the very beginning to where we're at now has totally shifted. I feel like Missourians are very much for the ability to have cannabis as an option for their health and their wellness and their well-being, and including all the state officials, the municipalities, and, you know, just all the residents. You know, they've been very, very interested. It probably helps that several other states had legalized in some form before us.
Sure.
You know, all the way out, you start in California and then Colorado and
popular travel destinations too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Illinois right next door. So
yeah, and they had recreational cannabis, so people could go over there without having a medical card or residency.
Right.
They could go into a facility, see what it was all about, and they kind of learned on their own. And what we're seeing is that a lot more people were actually traveling out of state to get cannabis than we even realized. So, and now all those people are coming back to Missouri because we have a much lower tax rate than even Illinois. Illinois is about a little bit over 30%, where we're going to be less than 12%, even as
30% on the product that you buy?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And I mean, people were lined up to pay it before Missouri went recreational.
Sure. Yeah, I remember during the pandemic, they were doing like buses, right? They were busing people over there and meeting in parking lots, and it was crazy. But that shows you, you know, just the revenue. And then if you think about it from a, you know, just from like a political standpoint, or from a business owner, or just a resident, I mean, that's just going to increase your tax revenue, right?
Yeah.
Because that you're collecting those taxes and you're doing a lot of business here.
Yeah.
And so that just goes right back into the state. Does the tax have to go to a certain thing? Is it like casinos where?
It actually goes to veterans, and it helps with all kinds of veteran stuff. And then with the new recreational cannabis, there is some stuff that goes to automatic expungement. So Missouri was the first state in the history of the United States that put into their law automatic expungement for people who had been arrested for cannabis prior to cannabis legalization. So as long as your cannabis-related offense didn't have to do with a violent crime or distributing cannabis to an underage person, they are actually going through and expunging all those people's records at this point to remove those cannabis arrests from their record.
Are there a lot of those cannabis, and I don't know, I'm putting you on the spot here, but are there a lot of those arrests that are just for having cannabis on you?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I guess if you're in the wrong area and you have a certain amount, you're going to jail for that?
Yeah, I mean, you know, or if you had been pulled over and you may have been smoking with your buddies and the officer had smelled cannabis back then, they were very likely to search your vehicle and arrest you just for having it because, cannabis wasn't legal in Missouri.
Yeah.
And, what we've found is we've actually had several law enforcement officers come into the dispensary. We've reached out to O'Fallon PD and we've invited them in. And then we actually did a training session with a group called Extracted ED where we had law enforcement officers from all over the state, and that helped with my background as a first responder, just with some of the people that I knew. And we brought them in here, and we actually had a consumption event where officers then would conduct field sobriety tests with people while they were consuming and right after they were consuming different forms of cannabis. And one of the things was, it was.
Is this on tape anywhere? Can we see this?
I'll show you some videos. And I mean, it was wild. And everybody was kind of like, wait, are we going to get arrested for smoking in front of these police? And I'm like, no.
This is clearly a trick. There's police officers here. Yeah.
It was, I believe, the first consumption event with police officers in the history of the state of Missouri. And then to also circle back a little bit, we are the first ever medical cannabis dispensary that opened in the city of O'Fallon, Missouri. So we're pretty proud of that too, because we got open really quick once we were able to be open. Yeah. Which is why we're celebrating our 2-year anniversary right now.
Love it.
Yeah.
Let me get back here and just thank you again. If you're still watching, I'm with Jason Crady at Missouri Wild Alchemy. Again, just want to make sure you subscribe. What's the other thing? The bell. What's the name for that?
It's just a bell.
Just hit it's just a bell. Spoken by I don't know what. But yeah, subscribe, notification bell. Thank you, Manny. Follow Local 636 at Local 636 on everything. Instagram, Facebook. Follow us. We've got a bunch of stuff coming up, including a night at the ballpark with the Hoots. We've got 636 Day coming up. Just make sure you follow us. Stay locked to the YouTube channel, Facebook, Instagram for all that stuff. And then, like I said, you've got an event. I want to still get to that, but I still have more questions for you, man, because this is fascinating to me just because, a lot of what I do is talk to a lot of business owners, and not that it's all the same. I mean, every business varies, and every business is different and has different challenges, but this is just a different animal.
Yeah.
I mean, from the regulation to just the process of getting it started to the social stigma of what you're doing, Yeah. I was asking before, so you have kids.
Yeah.
And I asked you if they knew, and go ahead and talk about that because I think this is really cool.
So one of our biggest concerns was the fact that we have, right now, 10-year-old and the 7-year-old.
Yeah.
And, when we started 4 years ago, they were 4 years younger. And, we were first coming out of COVID and going through COVID and meeting all their friends' parents for the first time. And we were like, man, I don't know if they'll want our kids to be able to hang out with them if we're the drug dealers, stuff like that. So we were worried about that. That was a legit concern because
Absolutely.
I didn't want my kids to not be able to have friends because of what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we decided, my wife and I, that if our kids were going with one of their friends' parents, we would want to know if they were involved with something like that. So we were really upfront with all of them. We told every one of them, and they were all so cool about it.
Yeah, they're like, now we got a friend that has a weed business.
Right, for sure. But it was really cool because we weren't sure how that was going to go. It went really, really well. Most of them have been in here, even if they aren't a cannabis consumer or user, just to see, and we've showed them, and they were all really amazed with how this is built out, how the flow goes.
I think that's I don't want to overstate it, but it really is. I don't know what the stigma is, but I'm sure there are people that think you just opened a store and sell weed out of it. And it is, this is a really nice place. I mean, and you've got more than cannabis here. You've got all kinds of, I guess is paraphernalia the correct word for it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. It always sounds like sounds like you're in trouble when you hear that word, paraphernalia.
Yeah, or we could say medication delivery device,
Yeah, but it's more than that too. Right. I mean, you talked about enjoying cannabis when you were younger. I did not. I actually did not. I did not enjoy it. I didn't like it. Tried it a couple times in high school. Tried it a couple more times in college. Just not for me.
Yeah.
But I did have friends who did it and was never turned off by it. And so one of the things, and I was talking to Scott about this too, is you have this device that you blow through that scents the smoke coming out. And that used to be the old toilet paper roll with the dryer sheet.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen all kinds of people use that.
Yeah.
But there's a real, so if people don't know what we're talking about, imagine you blow out the smoke through a toilet paper with a dryer sheet rubber banded around the end, and that's supposed to
and everybody thought it worked. And
mask the smell. I don't know, but there's an actual product
Yeah.
of that now. What's it? Do you know the name of it?
Smoke buddies.
Smoke buddies. Okay.
Yeah.
And is there like a little fan in there, or what's?
It's just a lot of these things have like carbon filters inside of them.
Okay.
So on top of that, we also have lockable smell-proof bags.
Yeah.
Which if you put a jar of cannabis in or a Ziploc bag of cannabis or whatever in your house, in your pantry or your closet, you're gonna smell it.
Sure.
Well, you put them in these and you don't smell anything.
Okay.
So there's a lot of really cool technology with
Yeah.
obviously cannabis consumers are very handy and they're very
Yes.
creative
Yes.
with making things and discovering.
We were talking
things.
earlier about
Yeah.
arts class in 7th grade, and some of the kids in my art class,
Yeah.
and doing seeing people use soda cans,
Yeah.
and it's almost like a MacGyver.
Yeah, exactly.
like
Yeah, for
type
sure.
quality to be able to take this and use it for marijuana.
Right.
Man, back to the kids. Another
Okay.
thing I thought was really cool, and I was telling you, as an insurance agent for my primary business, and as this, which we're starting, my girls are 10 and 8, and they love helping me.
Yeah.
And Angel's kids have worked. One of them works for you. They both have worked for you in the past.
Yes.
Adele and Kathy.
Yeah, Adele actually, she's the one that edits all of your podcasts.
Shout out Adele.
There you go.
Lovely daughter. Twins.
Twins.
But you have, it's the same thing, right? They're learning, not necessarily about cannabis, although maybe, but they're learning about, what were you telling me? Like,
So just from the very beginning, when they were off in the summertime, I would have to take them to all the meetings. We would maybe be going to meet with an insurance person or a bank person, and we were filling out all this paperwork for the banks, which, by the way, banks do bank cannabis. A lot of people think that you just have bags of money laying around, which is not the case anymore. But we were doing all of our banking stuff, and I had to have my daughter in there, Gwen, and because she was out of school or whatever, and I think my son Burton, he was staying at home with my wife, and we went to the bank to sign some paperwork, and we were talking about like ownership percentages, and just out of the back I hear her go, Gwen Crady, whatever percent, and I just thought it was funny because she chimed in, and the banking people just were dying laughing because she was basically trying to get a percentage of the company and didn't even really know, but she just wanted to be included. So we've had them up here. Scott and Kim, have 4 grandkids that are around here from the beginning, which is my 2 kids and then my sister-in-law's 2 kids.
Yeah.
And any different day you may be up here, you may end up running into one of them because they may have to come up when we're doing something or whatever. And I mean, we would be up here. Scott was demoing the whole place, or when we were setting everything up from the beginning, and then even once we were in operation, just coming in. And I remember there was an older lady that had come in one day, and she was like, hey, I'm an old school hippie, and she was really happy about it. And she saw my daughter in here. She was like, this just makes me so happy seeing a girl in a cannabis dispensary. And so they have been around a lot. They've been at meetings. They've been at, times when we were meeting with vendors. So kids are sponges. They pick up on everything.
Sure.
So one day we were talking about something, and just out of the blue, my daughter goes, hey, Dad, is that a cannabis-infused beverage? And I'm like, oh, my God.
She's got the lingo, man.
She's got the lingo down. She's paying attention. I'm like, don't talk about that at school. I don't want you to get in trouble.
Right.
So they know that they can't talk about Mom and Dad's business at school, just to be respectful to the other kids. And,
Sure.
You don't know, and I don't want.
Well, you don't want to put that on a
Right,
10-year-old.
Right. But it's funny because, when we're looking at data and stuff and sales reports, they're right there with us. So, like, I have her read things every night. How many patients had come in for the day? How many new patients did we see?
Yeah.
What were the top, 3 products that these patients wanted to see? And I mean, she reads those off every night. So they've been involved from the beginning, but we feel like we're, engaging with them, and we're teaching them all these things that, maybe some people would be afraid of. And we just felt like we should be open and honest because it's not a bad thing, and we are advocating for that. And at the same time, we're not pushy. So if somebody tells me, hey, look, I don't agree with it, I'm like, no, that's cool. It's not for everybody.
Yeah.
And things can be used in excess if it's food, if it's drugs, if it's sex, if it's
alcohol,
buying things.
I mean, even
if
good
it's social
things.
media.
Yeah.
People do things excessively. So, there's a good balance for everything. And, we definitely don't push. If you're not interested, I respect that.
Sure.
But if you are, we want to make sure that we're the people that help you get what you need.
What does make Wild Alchemy, I don't want to say better, but what do you love about it? Like, what's something unique about it, or something that's different than,
I would
another
say
shop?
we are probably the smallest group in the entire state that was awarded a license.
Yeah, because this is a true family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have no outside investors. It's just me and my wife and my in-laws, my mother-in-law and my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And I mean, we don't have big money behind us. We are local, Local 636.
Yeah.
We're a locally owned and operated business. We get a lot of people that come in that said, hey, we really want to come to you because, you're local. We have pharmacist involvement. So if people, there are certain drug interactions that can happen with certain medications and cannabis. Specifically blood pressure medications. So
interesting. Okay.
if a person has any kind of questions about, becoming a cannabis user based on some of the medications that they use, we have several different pharmacists that we can talk to bounce things off of, to, give this person or patient some information and some guidance so they don't have a bad reaction. So we really focus on education. We don't want, you've always heard the horror stories about people who go to a recreational market and they overconsume on an edible because they don't realize
They don't know. It's candy.
the
It's a little gummy.
absorption, right?
Yeah.
And they don't know how much actual medication is in there, and they have a bad experience. And we kind of took that upon ourselves to say, hey, we are the ambassadors of cannabis coming to the state of Missouri, and we want to teach people so we don't have those things happen here. And, we can learn from other states' mistakes, right? And we can go, hey, this happened there. We don't want it to happen to you. So we take a lot of time. All of our bud tenders are extremely knowledgeable.
It makes me laugh every time.
So
Bud
funny.
tenders.
Yeah. It's, it's just common vernacular,
Yeah.
like in the industry. We call them wellness coordinators because we want them to coordinate your wellness.
Sure.
But everybody calls them, they're kind of known as bud tenders, so they kind of love being called bud tenders. And I mean, they are so knowledgeable. They're so passionate about cannabis, with whether it's the type of consumption that you're going to use, whether it's, ingestion or smoking or topical. I mean, there's suppositories. Everything that you can possibly think of. There's tinctures. And I remember, to kind of circle back a little bit too, one of the most powerful moments we've had in here was we'd been open about a month, and somebody called me up to the checkout area and they go, hey, you need to come over here. And there was this mom that was just breaking down crying. And I was like, what's up? Like, I thought, I didn't know if she was upset or whatever.
Yeah.
And she had a pediatric seizure child. Her son had chronic seizures, and she was able to get some cannabis liquid for her child after they had a physician certify that was acceptable for his condition. And she said it was the first time she ever gave her kid a bath, and her kid was 6 years old at the time, without her son having a seizure. And she broke down crying, and everybody was, and it was super emotional, and it was super cool.
Yeah.
And it was like one of those things that I'm like, I've got to do some cool stuff at the fire department and in EMS, and that was almost as or more powerful than any of that, because she just, it made her so happy. And she's like, we've had people that had nonverbal children that have been able to consume and start to have like a more happy life and stuff like that. So it's been
very cool.
Extremely powerful. I know that a lot of times people might think, oh, it's just stoners or whatever, which is totally not the case. Some people absolutely enjoy getting high, and I mean, it's fun, and you can laugh at movies, and you can just chill out and maybe relax or get some good sleep. But there is a lot of really good medicinal benefits that you can get from cannabis.
Yeah, absolutely. Very cool.
Yeah.
Wanted to talk about your event coming up. You've got a cool event planned for 4/22.
Yes.
So 4/20 is on a Thursday.
Yeah.
And so you're going to do the event on a Saturday.
Right. We're stoner time, right? So we might be a little late. So we're going to do our 4/20 event on 4/22. It's going to be from high noon to 4/22.
Okay, cool.
It's going to be awesome. We're going to have a bunch of vendors. I think you guys are going to be here.
Yeah.
We've got a bunch of different medicated vendors. We may have a couple surprises that are going to go on that day. And we actually are doing tickets for a raffle right now. So you can come into the store and find out. We're raffling off a Volcano.
Yeah, I saw that.
Which retails for $700. So we're going to actually raffle that off right at 422. So people can come in now and find out how to get tickets for that. And we're going to raffle that off that day. And it's a vaporizer, so they're really cool if you've seen them. They kind of, you put the flower in there, they fill up a bag, and, you know, the consumer can, you know, basically take a hit off this bag of
like a balloon or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's really a cool thing. And a
Interesting.
lot of people really like them, so we thought that would be a really cool thing to do to kind of end the event. But, you know, that's what we're doing, so it's going to be awesome.
I love it, man. So 422, high noon till 422.
That's right.
Are you allowed to have like sales? I don't know what the regulations are. Like, can you discount stuff, or how does that work?
We can, yeah.
You can,
for sure.
okay.
Yep.
I remember in the beginning it was like kind of shaky and like with advertising.
Yeah.
And I guess like anything else, as we've been doing this longer, it'll kind of loosen up, and you realize like, okay.
Yeah. So
cool.
basically at the beginning, they just wanted to make sure everything was going on to people's allotments, and we weren't advertising sales outside and stuff like that, but we could talk about things once people came in, and we could have deals on products and stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah, we're definitely going to have that.
Want you to do one more thing. Look into this camera. Give me your socials.
Yeah.
Give me your socials and spit that event out one more time for me.
Everybody come to our 422 event on 422 from high noon to 422. We're going to be raffling off a volcano at the very end, so come in from now till then to find out how you can get a ticket. Check us out on social media. Just follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and then check out our website, www.missouriwild.com. You can actually place an order online and then come into the store for rapid pickup. That's a way that you can kind of beat the line, and our online menu is absolutely awesome. That's another thing that sets us apart. Very robust menu. We carry everybody. We carry everything that we can, so we have anything that you may want here.
Awesome. Let's go check out the store.
Let's do it.
Hey, we're here at Missouri Wild Alchemy. We're gonna get up with Brandon here, and Brandon's gonna show us how to roll a proper joint. And then we're gonna have a contest between the wellness coordinators to see who can roll one the fastest. Stay tuned. All right, I'm here with Brandon at Missouri Wild Alchemy.
How you guys doing?
And Brandon is going to educate us on how to roll a proper joint.
Basically, guys, we are kind of a couple steps ahead of the game here on this stuff. I'm already ground up here. So originally the first step would be when you take your flour out of that bag, it's gonna usually be that nice, beautiful nug. You're gonna wanna throw that into a grinder and kind of grind it up to your consistency. Some people like a nice chunkier grind. If you're using like a thicker paper or maybe one of those hemp wraps, that chunkier grind's definitely gonna help you out a little bit more. Papers definitely kind of get it just to a nice, even grind. That's what we're gonna start with here, guys. So I got my paper, my flour, and then we have some raw tips. That is going to be preference. Some people love those tips, some don't. Definitely helps get some of that residue from getting on your lips and stuff like that as you're burning it. But we'll sit that off to the side here to start. I have well more than I need for this one, guys, so we're going to scoot some off to the side here. And I'm going to bring out basically what I think here in a second I'm going to put on there. Get your paper down.
That's a lot smaller than I thought it would be.
So some papers are definitely bigger.
Okay.
When you're starting rolling, it's not necessarily a bad idea to start with a bigger paper. It's going to give you more feeling and more room for error. But you also do want to get that consistent roll. You don't want to have part of the paper that's kind of like 3/4 of that paper all in one little chunk.
Yeah.
But as you guys grow, I promise you're going to learn to love that one that's just the right amount to get just that right seal. Perfect overlap, guys, is pretty much your glue. I don't know how well the camera's gonna see it, but you usually have a couple centimeter glue strip. That's that perfect overlap. So some people like a little thinner.
There's a glue strip on there?
On the paper, yeah, so all papers.
I've seen people lick stuff.
So that's gonna be more with those hemp wraps, and you are actually kind of using your saliva, guys, as part of the process. Some people do, they actually have smokable glue that you can purchase, and you can put that down on your wrap before you actually start rolling. And you don't have to do that. I will be using a little bit of my saliva to get that seal today. Some people will use water and dip in that, and then they just take that finger for that last one. My way of rolling, that's actually a little bit more difficult to get that finger off of there.
Yeah.
So I use just a little bit there. We're also lighting it on fire, guys, so. All right, I like to lay mine down. I get a nice even amount to where it's gonna sit right there in the center. I like to leave just a little bit on that side there, guys, because as I roll, I push to one side, kind of. So, put just a little bit more in there. Then what I prefer to do is go ahead and get that up. And this is where you're gonna use your finger. Some people love to get like a straw, your tapper, anything like that. You kind of push down, but I just use my finger there. Get both sides going a little bit here. And you're gonna start to roll just a little bit in there, guys. This is gonna be a back and forth motion. I don't know if you can kind of get just a little bit of that demonstration there, but you're just gonna go real gentle, just a little by little. You will lose a little bit, guys. Out of here, start at one side, kind of go to the other side.
Tray now, I see, because yeah, you are spilling some, and so.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing, guys. You always wanna have a little bit more. That's gonna ensure you get that good fill. The wetter your weed is or more moisture, you definitely want to go a little bit lighter on that roll because you will make it to the point that you just cannot get that hit through. So you want good airflow. That's going to be the consistency of your weed. So here now, guys, I've got it pretty much full. Roll do I want. I'm going to push my end in just a little bit, give that a tap down. I'm going to throw my filter right in there. I have a little bit excess there now, so I'm going to pinch here and then re-spread that down to make sure I really fill that end up. From there, guys, this is where patience is key when you're first starting off, guys. This is gonna be one kind of swoop motion for me. You may do a little bit of rolling with your fingers, but I've got this now. If you're gonna come up and kind of take a close look, I pretty much have it sealed to where I want. This is where I'm gonna use my lip and get a little moisture there. And then I'm gonna use my upper lip to help seal that center as I fold my fingers. Yeah, I lost my filter in, guys, but this is perfectly okay. This may happen that first time for you, but we make this work. With that being said, so all you gotta do here, guys, simple fix, and this will happen, I promise. You just bring that back in there. This is already sealed for you guys. You can see how I'm kind of holding that there now. I'm good to go. I can use 2 fingers down at this end here. Get that nice and tight in there. Give that last little roll with the finger there. So from here, guys, a lot of people like to tap that little end out. I don't have my tool right now, but I'm gonna use another filter. You're just gonna give a little push in there. My preferred method is a fold over. Some people like to twist that in, give it a little tip on it, but I just do that fold in there. And that is the finished product.
There it is.
One little tip for you guys that we've seen in the market. Everybody wants to talk about, they give a little run on their joint. Basically means also here a canoe. So one side's burning faster than the other. Sometimes that's the weed you're rolling with. A lot of times it's the way you light it. So one myth is you're lighting it like the classic cigarette, putting your mouth, putting your flame up to it. Always kind of take your flame, get your lighter there, very tip of that. Give it a nice twist. Get a nice even redness there. Then give that first draw on it.
Almost like a cigar.
Exactly. Starting them that way definitely seems to reduce even the worst roll from running. So hope you guys learned something here. Appreciate you tuning in.
All right, I'm here with Brandon, Bree, and Jordan, and we are going to have a contest to see who can roll the quickest. So, are y'all ready?
Absolutely.
All right, 1, 2, 3, go. The contestants have started their rolling. Jordan, the self-proclaimed GOAT, looks to be behind.
Only looks.
We got Bree in there. Everybody's doing the same thing, putting the filter in there. We're getting to roll. Now, we're not super going to judge on quality. We're kind of just going for speed here, but we want something nice looking. Brandon down there looks like he's ahead of y'all. Get that filter in. Everybody's got looks like a similar method. Now Jordan earlier off camera rolled one in about 25 seconds, and it looked perfect. He's struggling. It's that camera on him.
Roll your mama a joint.
Got the finishing touches going on over here for Brandon. Oh, look at that. It's like the tortoise and the hare over there.
Man.
Hey, I got smoke my other one for victory.
All right, what's the one you just did?
Pick one, it don't matter.
This one earlier.
Twist it. Yep. They said fasted, now they want to judge it.
Nice,
Now at first
Bree.
we already judging.
That is nice.
That is very nice.
Was that yours?
Yeah.
You want to mess with the goat? I was done. I told them before they started.
Is that what we would say?
I don't know.
Yep, I got you.
They're about the
Sorry
same.
about that.
We're both a little crunched up at the filter.
I don't know. We're gonna let you guys. I don't know. Can people respond and make comments on this? Let them be the vote.
Pocket right now.
Make a poll on social media or something.
Yeah, let's do that. Let the people decide. They're all smokable, guys. That's the important thing.
Yes.
And when you're learning, don't be afraid to mess up, break a joint.
So whose is whose?
This was Brandon's. And this was my first one from Explanation. And then those two were done by Jordan, AKA the GOAT.
And I think this one was the contest.
Yeah, it was.